Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Today we're going to speak to Harris Toser, who is involved with Non-Sport Magazine and, of course, the Philly Non-Sport Convention. Welcome to the show, Harris. It's so nice to have you on short notice.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Hi, Harris.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well today, thank you.
Yeah.
I thought I would like to start by asking you about Non-Sport Magazine. What's your role there and how it got started? I'm very interested to hear how it all began.
Sure. It started out as a family-run magazine. We started in 1990. The prices in sports cards were pretty volatile at that time, and people in sports cards wanted to. There were strikes going on too, baseball union strikes, and people were looking for things to get involved with. They got involved with non-sport, and they came to us and they said, "Hey, we're going to make the prices go way up," and we didn't really want to see that, so we got involved at that point. There was no price guide for non-sport cards at that point. And we got involved as a family-run business with another gentleman, and we started a price guide and a magazine, and that was in 1990. I was actually working full-time for someone else at that point, but I did the subscriptions and things like that from the start, and then I came on board full-time with the third issue, which was 1991, and from 1990 through 2016, we published a magazine as a family-run publication with my mother and father. And in 2016, we sold the magazine to Beckett. And I still work for the magazine. My parents do not, but the magazine continues to go, and it's 32 years later now.
Wow, 32 years. That's outstanding.
I know. It kind of blows my mind if I stop and think about it.
Was it difficult in the beginning to get subscribers and subscriptions? I mean, how did you go about getting people interested in your magazine?
Well, I guess it was and it wasn't. I mean, it actually predated the internet, really. We used to do a lot of card shows. We were always the odd man out because we would have non-sport there and everyone on sports cards. So we were kind of like the non-sport people. My mother is known as like the non-sport queen. And people knew us, which really helped with advertising. We were kind of, I guess, well respected or whatever. We were able to get ads fairly easily in the beginning because of our contacts. And, I think there was a hunger for a publication about non-sport cards at that point. There was one other publication, but there was no price guide. And, we were the only ones really covering the new releases. And there were a lot of new releases at the time. There were new companies coming on. That was when Upper Deck really started to enter non-sport. Impel Marketing came around, who later became Skybox, which later became, I guess it's now an imprint of Upper Deck, but there were new companies coming in. Topps was really upping their game at the time. And it was, it kind of went from there. And in the mid 90s, it really ballooned. There were just trading cards for everything at that point. But anyway, that's how it came to be.
So now that the internet is much stronger and there's so much digital stuff, do you find it a challenge to keep a print magazine going or?
Oh yeah. It's tough. We're certainly never going to get the word out there before the internet does, with a magazine and long lead times that haven't really changed in all these years. It's always competition. So we've got to find other ways of informing our collectors, and that's what we always look into doing. But people still like, our people are physical people. They like things. So we hear time and time again, I prefer a magazine. I don't want digital this. I don't want digital that. I want, I want sketch cards in my hand. I want trading cards in my hand. I don't want digital cards. I want a magazine. You can read the magazine. We're available for the iPad, but people still want the magazine. It really goes hand in hand with the collectors.
So for you, you don't really see a demise for the magazine. There will always be a crowd for it, won't there?
Yeah, I think so. I really think it goes hand in hand with the mentality of collectors.
Interesting.
So do you, because also, did you start the non-sport card convention? What
We
was
actually,
it was
no, we actually did not. The Philly Non-Sport Card Show was started by Frank and Phyllis Richter, who lived in Philadelphia and were friends of ours. And they started it in the mid '80s, and they ran it very successfully for many, many years. But at one point towards their 50th show, it was starting to become a burden for them financially and everything else. And they came to us and asked if we wanted to go in with them. And we went in with them for quite a number of years until later we ended up buying it. And we moved locations at that point, made some changes. It started to become, much better financially. And we've done pretty well with it. We've now, I guess, run, I don't know, maybe 30 shows then since that time.
it's the only convention I've ever heard of that concentrates just on cards, and especially like say non-sport cards.
Yeah, on non-sports, it's pretty unique. People have a hard time wrapping their head around that because they're used to pop culture shows or comic shows or maybe one dealer at a sports card show. But yeah, we're all non-sports.
So describe a little bit what is actually at your show for people, for instance, who are maybe not so knowledgeable about a convention. What are they going to find at your convention?
They are going to find dealers who are selling old and new non-sports and pretty much only non-sports. So we'll have somebody there selling tobacco cards from the tobacco era, from way back when. We will have people there selling cards from the 50s and 60s with, classic television shows and things like that. And then we'll have lots of dealers that are selling the newest stuff. And it's all non-sport, like I said. And then we will also have artists at the show. We always have a small artists alley, so to speak, with 4, 5, 6 artists who create some of the cards that everyone is used to seeing. I think somebody we know, Ingrid, is going to be at the upcoming show. And we also have manufacturers there. We have, like, for example, at the upcoming show, Cryptozoic will be there, Rittenhouse Archives will be there. We have Sidekick Labs will be there, and a couple of other manufacturers will be at the upcoming shows. And then promos. Promos are always a big part of the show. We give out promos when people come in the door, and then a lot of the manufacturers and the artists give out promos, and that's a big part of the show as well.
I had no idea that promos were so popular, I have to say. It's only in the past, I don't know, maybe the past year that I've discovered that promo cards, people really like them.
They really do. It's like a hobby onto itself.
Yeah.
It really is.
Why is that so? Is it just because there's only one, or?
That's a good question. I think maybe at one point it was because there were not a lot of promos and people felt that they could, get them all or get a majority of them. Now, of course, some releases have 6 and 7 different promos, so there's a lot and it's hard, but it's I don't know. It's a good question. Maybe it's a question for the reader, for the listeners out there and the viewers out there.
I'm hoping to gain more interest in sketch cards here in the UK.
Okay.
Started attending cons and things. Would you have any advice at all on how to go about trying to gather the interest? Because a lot of people have never heard of them and they don't know what they are. Even the printed sets, that they're kind of out of the loop in the UK a little bit.
Yeah. I used to actually come over and do a UK show for years. I did memorabilia in Birmingham.
Oh,
Yeah, I did that maybe 10 or 12 years or something like that. And I loved going over there. But I will say you're right. There were a lot of people that didn't know trading cards existed. And, it was kind of funny because they're coming to a comic show or whatever. And the cards are a lot of the same subjects, but they had no idea that there were cards for this and that. And the other thing, it's really an awareness thing. I don't know. It's just getting the word out that the cards exist for their, for the shows that they're already watching or for the artists that they're already following and things like that.
Well, when I did my last Comic-Con, people were coming up and I had a few promo cards on my table.
Uh-huh.
I was just so surprised how they knew absolutely not. What's this? And they're collectible. I mean, I remember them from being a kid. I mean, I don't know if they're that, like you were saying, in the 90s, they were everywhere. So I don't know if they're just missing out on learning about them when they were kids.
Yeah, that's a problem too. I mean, kids right now are not collecting cards. Unfortunately, there's so many other things, and unfortunately, now you give kids cards and they go, "Oh, what do they do?"
You can't swipe on them or anything.
Yeah, so that's a problem too.
But I have a feeling it's like, genes from the 70s, unfortunately, they keep coming back. So I would be willing to bet that somebody who's well known down the road is going to be like, hey, I'm cool, I like cards, and then everybody will be into cards again. Lindsey, you and I are going to have to put together a UK convention.
I'll just start spamming some celebrities with some promo.
Good idea. You put the show together and I'll come over.
Oh, awesome. Okay, let's get on it, Lindsey.
I would love to. Like I say, with the conventions that are coming up, I am going to start trying to sort of push it. I just need to find a way to advertise it that's going to grab people's attention.
Right.
Advertise it for the whole market, not just me. I want to. These exist.
Maybe the UK sketch artists can band together and somehow do something. I don't know what, but
even here in Canada, sketch cards, they are known, but it's not even close to like what it is in the US.
Yeah.
Like Montreal, which is about 45 minutes from where I am right now. Before the pandemic, they used to have a convention, but it was mostly, there were sketch card artists, a few, because there are one or two in Montreal, I think, or at least near around there. But it would be mostly comic books. You'd get some of them, Star Trek people would be there and things like that. I went as a tourist one time, and cards, it's like, maybe one or two tables and that's about it. Toronto, I think there's a bit more, but that's
I've heard that the Toronto show is pretty good.
Yeah, but that's really expensive for people who want to have a table there. It's unaffordable. I mean, just can't do it. Well, not for the little people like myself. That's just not doable. So what do you see as the future for the convention?
For the Philly show?
Yeah, do you see it growing? Do you have a strong base for the convention?
Yeah, we do have a strong base. We have a lot of collectors that come every time, or almost every time. We just moved the show. The last show was kind of unique because it was the first one that we ran after not running, I think, 4 shows. It was the first run after the pandemic. So that was kind of something to start with. And then we also moved locations. The Philly show, the one kind of funny thing about the Philly show is it's actually never been in Philadelphia. It's been in suburbs of Philadelphia, and then it even moved to Allentown, which is a city not, as you guys may or may not know, is a whole nother city. We always joke that if it moved to China, it would still be called the Philly Sport Card Show. But we're now back in the Philadelphia area. Anyway, so we had to deal with a new hall last time, and but people, seem to really like it. They followed us to the new place. It's not that far away from Allentown, and it's, continued to do very well, and we're very happy with the way things are going.
That's really awesome. I was thinking, what do you think? Well, you've just changed location, so I've heard online that it's actually a much nicer place. So
Right.
are you getting used to it? Are you setting up well? And
Yeah, definitely getting used to it. It was kind of like growing pains or something last time with having to deal with, we were so used to the way things laid out at the Merchant Square Mall. That was where we were running it in Allentown. So we had to get used to how things laid out, where food vendors were going to be, where people were going to come in, and all that kind of stuff. So we now have one show under our belt, and that's very helpful.
I can't wait to go. I can't wait to go.
Yeah,
See
can't
what
wait to
it's
see you
like.
there. It's only a week or so away now.
I wish I
Yeah.
could go.
Yeah, I wish you could too.
Wish you could come. That would be so amazing.
That would be awesome.
How many do you do a year? Is it annual or do you do a few?
We do 2 a year. It's always spring and fall.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, and the spring one's coming up on May 21st and 22nd.
Do you have people filming there and putting it on social media as the day goes?
There's some of that. Yeah, we don't do that, but we've had people that do that. We've had a couple of inquiries this time from press, from various press outlets. So I think there'll be a couple people there doing that. And I know collectors do it as well.
Do you collect yourself?
I do collect. We still have a big collection of non-sport cards. We maintain, our collection from when I was a kid. And then I collect other things myself. I have a pretty large collection of CDs. I'm really into music, so I have a ton of CDs and CD singles, things like
Do you
that.
love the album? I love the CD artwork and the covers.
Yeah.
Well, see, do you have a favorite?
Since I grew up in the 80s, I like 80s music. So I like my 80s music, and I continue to like those bands that, are still around to this day, recording new music. So, they're still out there, and I still buy their stuff. I do some of the digital stuff these days, but I do still love, a CD release. I have all my vinyl from when I was a kid. I don't really buy vinyl anymore. But
I was going to ask that if you still collect vinyl. And
yeah, I still have all my vinyl from when I was a kid. I had 45s, and I have albums, and I love looking at it, and I love new vinyl, but I don't really have a working record player right now, and I don't really play records. So, but I still appreciate it.
And I've got a little we've got a little music studio at the bottom of the garden, and there's just one just covered in CDs.
Yeah.
But like, you end up listening to stuff just on the computer, don't you? It's very rarely.
Yes, I do.
I'm there to grab the CDs, to be honest, but I do
Yeah.
like to have them. Like, I hoard them.
If I flipped my computer around right now, you'd see racks of CDs. But yeah, I do listen to almost everything on my computer or on my phone. But years ago, I ripped everything that I wanted, but I cannot part with the CDs. And sometimes I do, depending if I have a night in or something, I might listen to 3 or 4 CDs from the same band. Just, I don't know. I really enjoy doing that.
It's kind of like books. It's really nice to collect like hardcover books or soft covers, but I mean paper books, it's really nice. But I'll admit, even I do like being able to have a digital version that you can bring around, and it doesn't take up so much room in your suitcase or what have you. There are.
It's nice to pick up with, on another device. It definitely has a lot of advantages, but there's something about holding the book or the CD or the album in your hands.
Absolutely. So
one of the things that I like about collecting cards, because you can store them so easily.
Right.
Like, I'm a bit of a toy collector as well, and most of it's in loft, and I can't even look at it because it's the space. So, that might be an angle I might go to in trying to get people interested in trading cards. You can collect loads, and they don't take up any room.
That's a good point. Yeah, that is a good point.
It is actually, it's part of the tags I sometimes use, miniature art. You can collect, being able to collect so much stuff on if you're in a really small apartment, you can easily have a really nice collection nonetheless.
Right,
You don't have to have a whole mansion to be able to hang a huge painting or anything
right,
like that.
right. Yeah, it's definitely one of the most compact collectibles out there.
So
Compared.
what do you need, like when you're running your convention? What are the main things that you need to set up? I mean, obviously you need to get all your traders in. I'm not quite sure how that works.
Well, we all the tables and stuff like that is set up for us by the by the hall, but we still have a lot of work beyond that, and we have to dress all the tables. We have to pack all the promos, which is a big undertaking. Depending on how many we get, we make up promo packs to hand out to collectors as they come in, and we try to do all that ahead of time. So it takes a while to put all those together. We have to
Well,
make sure.
how do people go about submitting their promos to you to go in the pack, or do you choose? How does that work?
They just come to us, and we tell them what the requirements are, how many we need. It's pretty easy, but they just have to have enough printed. And some people, like Ingrid, for example, who are actually going to be at the show, will hand them out themselves. So we have that going on too. We used to have so many, in fact, that somebody would make up a list of all the available promos and where to go around the show floor to get them. It's not
Wow.
quite as crazy now, but there's still a lot. I mean, Ingrid will have them. Cryptozoic's giving some away. Rittenhouse Archives is giving some away. There may or may not be some at the dinner that we have. I don't know anything about that. But there's various places where promos are handed out. So back to your question, yeah. And the other thing that we always rely on friends for help. It does take a lot to run the show, as far as taking money, making sure everything is in its right place. We maintain our own tables at the show, so we need staff for that. So it's a bit of an undertaking, with a little help from our friends, as the song goes.
About how many people do you usually get attending the show?
It's not huge numbers. I'd say around 500-600, something like that.
Oh, it's still a lot of people.
Yeah, sure.
Would you like to talk a little bit about this upcoming show? Do you have any like special guests or what? How is it going to be run? How is it going to be working for people who don't know anything about it?
All right. Well, the upcoming show, like I said, is May 21st and 22nd. We have 4 artists there this time. We have you, Ingrid. We have, now you're putting me on the spot because I'm going to forget. We have Jeff Zapata coming in. We have James Warhola coming, and James is the nephew of Andy Warhol. Actually, Warhola was the family name, but he changed it to Warhol. But James Warhola is coming, and Chris Meeks is coming. Chris is also another sketch artist, and he's awesome, as are everybody else. So we have those 4 artists. And as I said, we have, let me think about the manufacturers. We have Cryptozoic, Rittenhouse, Sidekick. We have Mark Pingatori, who also is an artist, but also runs his own company called Magic Marker Art. So he'll be set up there, both as an artist and manufacturer. And I may be forgetting 1 or 2 art manufacturers, but we have an auction company that sets up 2. I think they're called the Collector Connection, and we have all the promos that we'll be giving out. We also have Adam Bomb coming. He came last time. It's a gentleman who has a Topps authorized, approved Garbage Pail Kid costume. He was quite popular at the last show. It's really something to see. And you can come and get your photo taken with Adam Bomb, the character, the main character from Garbage Pail Kids, with his head exploding. And it makes a really good selfie if you're into Garbage Pail Kids.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So this is for people who come to visit. They can come and just walk in and browse the tables and all that stuff. And I think
That's right. That's right. And it's really nice. A lot of times you go to sports card shows and you see celebrities and sports stars, and they're charging $1 zillion for their autographs. I mean, we're kind of more old fashioned. We don't, none of the artists, I don't think we've ever had an artist ever actually charge for an autograph. Of course, all the artists are there to sell their stuff, their sketch cards, their books, and things like that. And those, of course, you pay for, and we hope that you'll support the artists. But it's pretty old fashioned because it's pretty cheap to get in. There's no exorbitant costs for any of that kind of stuff. It's real laid back.
Has the pandemic had a big effect on the way you run things, or how people are showing interest in? Is there like more interest in coming to the show, do you feel? Or
I think there was a real pent up interest in coming to the last show because it was the first one after 2 years. I really want, but the one downside was we did require vaccinations at the last show, which was a bit of a sticking point, I will say. We're not requiring anything this time because conditions are a lot better now than they were in, I guess it was October of last year. But the pandemic, well, I mean, of course, we couldn't run 4 shows in a row, so that was a pretty big deal. But it did help, I think, a little bit last show because of the pent-up interest in coming back.
people are just clamoring to get across the border now.
They are. Yeah, they're clamoring to get back to normal. And a lot of the collectors come to the Philly show spring and fall. So that's kind of normal for us, and going 2 years without it is not great.
It feels really weird because here in Canada, like we still have to wear masks everywhere. I mean, everywhere. And now we don't have to show proof of vaccination, thank goodness. But of course, it's better to be vaccinated, but you don't have to show proof of vaccination or anything, but we do still have to wear masks. That's going to be right probably till next week. So it's strange to hear Lindsey talk about in the UK how like pandemic, what pandemic? And now down in the in the US, it's pretty chill, I think. So
it is. I still think you'll see some people with masks at the show, but yeah, it's not required. And there'll be, fortunately or unfortunately, there'll be lots of people there without masks. So,
well, I think it's all going to go really, really well. Kitty, I'm sorry.
Really, we were speaking to a Chinese collector the other day, and he's saying over there they've started doing like little card shows.
Okay.
They all kind of get together and bring their collections and sit around the table and show each other what they've.
Oh, that's cool.
I really love to build that kind of environment so people aren't just going around buying, but they're sort of showing each other like what they love and being able to comment on other people's collections. That would be lovely.
Yeah.
That's
so
so
really good. Yeah. We've had some like things kind of like that. We've had some trading sessions and things like that, but I don't know. We probably could use more of that. That's a great angle.
That's really something. Nobody does that anymore, to just sort of enjoy collecting.
Yeah.
Just
it's nice to show other people your favorites and things like that. And yeah, there really isn't much of that.
We need more of that.
Right. We do.
I'll do my best here in the UK.
Yeah, I'm going to be after you on that one to get that show going again. And then you have to come over here, Lindsey, and we'll get it started. We'll kickstart it a bit here too.
The international tour.
International tour. I'm totally up for that.
I hate traveling though. I love it when I get there. It's the traveling I don't like.
Yeah.
We need teleporters as soon as possible.
I know, that would be awesome. It really would.
So when the fly doesn't get in there with you, and you're in trouble.
Is there anything about the show you'd like to let people know? Something they should bring. Kids are welcome, I'm sure.
Yeah, kids are welcome. We'll have several sorry, lost for words, which is great on a podcast. We'll have several door prizes, and we have some kids focused door prizes. So bring your kids, they might win a prize, and we have door prizes for adults too, of course. We don't really see enough kids at the show. That's kind of a shame. So bring your kid, and
Absolutely.
help them to enjoy, you know, what is fun about the hobby. You got to
That-
really
that's
explain it
what,
to them.
that's what got all of us into cards and stuff like that. It was when you're a kid and you had all of that. So yeah, it's really.
That's right. That's how I got involved, and I think that's probably how most of us got involved.
I was playing with the idea of having, like, you know, blank sketch cards specially for kids to draw on.
Well, that's a good idea.
You don't really want to charge them for it though, because they're just little kids.
Right.
So I don't know, that might be nice to give them free promo cards to draw on. And
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. It really is a good idea.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. Lindsay,
And then I kind of introduced them also to what a sketch card is.
what a sketch card is, and that it doesn't have to be just trading cards or just sketch cards. It can be all kinds of different things.
kids are always so much more interested when they've done something themselves though.
That's
I mean,
right.
if my son helps me make his dinner, he eats it all.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hand in it. So I'll make a note. Hopefully I can get that going.
That's really a good idea. Well, I think I pretty much covered everything. One more thing.
Sure.
Will you have any magazines available at the show for people to get?
Well, that's a good question too. You know, we do not, Beckett is not setting up at the show, but we usually have a couple of the dealers, like Ed Webb, for example. I don't know if you
Yes.
guys know him or not, but he always has the current issue, and he usually has the back issues and things like that. So you can generally find them available from him. And there's usually a couple of other people, excuse me, dealers that have magazines available for sale.
The magazine is super interesting to read. I don't
you.
have a subscription. Unfortunately, it gets to be a bit pricey when it's across the border,
Right.
especially into Canada or Quebec and stuff. But it's always interesting to read, and you always have
Right.
such interesting articles about all kinds of different things. Really, you are planning to continue the magazine? I hope.
Oh yeah, yep. The magazine will go on. It will go on. And you know,
Do you have any future plans for the magazine, like expanded articles or new topics that you might cover, something like that?
well, we're always trying to mix it up. You know, more and more we're trying to cover vintage stuff, which for a while we didn't cover as much, but we're covering now kind of a mix of the new and the old. So that is kind of our focus right now, trying to cover the latest releases, but also some of the classics too. And you see, we're doing more and more vintage covers too, which we didn't used to do.
Well, that's awesome. You have a price guide with your magazine, I believe.
That's right. That's right.
Do people really get a lot of use out of a printed price guide? Is it something that you might consider?
They do. But the price guide for the last, I don't know, maybe 20 years or something has been one of the toughest parts of the magazine. You know, it was tough for us when we ran it as a family business, and it's tough for Beckett as a bigger corporation. And when I say that, what's tough about it is there's so many releases, and the releases have gotten so much more complex. You know, back in the day when we started the magazine, there would be a set would have 66 cards and 11 stickers, and that was it. Sometimes they didn't even have the stickers. And now, you know, there's autographs, promo cards, and parallel cards, and just and there'll be, you know, 3 kinds of that and 4 kinds of that and 25 kinds of that. So the release listings physically have gotten much longer. What we could do before on 2 lines now might take, you know, 40 lines or something like that. So it's really hard in print. So we have to be very selective about what gets printed. And we have a team that basically works on that. That's one thing I'm really not involved with, is the price guide, but they do a good job. And it's just tough because you're never going to please everybody. The one thing that you buy the magazine for might not be in that time or something like that. But there's just, if we covered everything in the price guide, it would be, you know, 600 pages or something like that. It's tough. And, you know, Beckett does maintain an online price guide. So that is one way collectors can find prices.
Do you have a forum, I believe, don't you? A website?
We do. The magazine has Card Talk. that we've run for a long, long time.
And do you find that people are using forums less than before?
Maybe, it's really, at one point, I think there was really only 1 or 2 places to go, and then there were 3 or 4 places to go, and now there's maybe 20 or 30 places to go. So I feel like it's kind of gotten scattered, and maybe there's less usage at one specific place, but overall maybe there's more than there used to be. I don't know, but I just kind of feel like there's many places you can go now between forums and Facebook and all kinds of other groups, and people are doing Zoom calls and all kinds of different things now. So
what works best for you as part of a company? Of course, you're not alone about it, you're with Beckett, but what works best for the company you're involved with? Forums, Facebook, Instagram? Is it a mix?
I think you kind of have to be everywhere.
Everywhere.
I mean, it's tough, but I think you really kind of have to be spread out, because people want to find you on whatever platform that they're using. So we do.
Time consuming.
What's that?
It's so time consuming.
It is time consuming, yeah, but we have different people that do different things. I mean, I'm kind of hands-on with our forum and the Facebook page, but we have a couple of other people here who will do stuff with Twitter, with Instagram, things like that. So it kind of it takes a village these days. I don't know. It's really tough.
Which one do you get the most feedback from?
Well,
I'm sorry, I'm trying to convince Lindsey to kind of, spread out a little bit.
Yeah.
So which one do you get the most feedback from?
I guess probably our forum, I guess, because
really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. We have a specific, one of our categories is specifically the magazine. So it's a good opportunity for people to say they liked a certain article, or they didn't like a certain article, or they didn't get their magazine, or whatever. But it's I don't know. It's probably where I see the most of it.
Is your magazine available in any other language besides English by any chance?
No, it is not. No, I don't think so. I was trying to think if there was a digital version, but no, just English.
That was a random question, but I know that
because the Chinese collector market is just blowing up at the moment.
Really? That I was not aware of.
I'm getting so many orders from China. It's ridiculous.
And this is just in the past, what, I think 2 years, Lindsey? Yeah, to 2 years.
What is the most popular thing right now in China?
Oh, they're liking Marvel. I made some notes.
Marvel, they're really liking, from the person that we talked to, whose interview will be released, I think, in early June. He said that what they really like over there, they have a strong respect of mythology and history, and they really like to see sets that are based around not always photographs. They kind of like the slightly more creative parts. So far, anyway, of course, it's pretty new over there, but Lindsey is right. It's really just
great to get a translated version for those guys, because they love your books, don't they? But some of them can't read it. So
yeah.
And they also have a lot of trouble. They would like to participate in Facebook groups or forums or things like that, but most of them don't know English, of course.
Yeah.
And Google Translate. Well, we all know how Google Translate works.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a market there.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah. Well,
this
is something we learned. There, I have to take my hat off. Perna Studios. I think it's okay to mention that Perna Studios has really done a lot in that department, because their sets are so based on artwork and original art.
Well, that I must say that when you just said, that they're really into mythology and things like that, that was the first thing that came to mind. I don't know if maybe this is something silly. I don't know if the mythology is the same around the world, but
well, yeah, yes,
probably some is and some isn't. But yeah, that was the first thing I thought of was the Perna sets. They must really like the Perna sets.
I'd like to be adventurous and think that there's a common thread through many historical things and mythology, and so it's something that people, I think, can kind of get a handle on. You can identify with me. Oh, well, that's like kind of like a story I heard when I was a kid, or this or
Right.
that, things like that.
I guess someone needs to come out with a mythology set specific for China.
Yep, guess so.
A worldwide one from each area.
Oh, yeah, now that would be interesting too.
Illustrated particular
That would
story.
be very interesting.
Just so we
And
can
now,
all
once this podcast has been released, you're going to see. There's going to be
Yeah,
some-
exactly. Exactly. Well, we trademarked it here, so.
Yeah. We mentioned it first. Excuse me. I think you have an engagement that you need to be at. Am I not mistaken?
I have a little bit of extra time. I have.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to share about how you got into cards? Where did you find sketch cards for the first time? What was your first encounter with that?
Well, I got into cards like probably half the other people that are listening via Star Wars. I was, I'm old enough that I remember the original Star Wars coming out, and I bought it was a big deal buying a box of cards in 1976 for the first Star Wars movie. And that was my entry point. As far as sketch cards go, I guess, I was already working at the magazine when sketch cards came around. So, I remember back in the early 90s when everyone was trying to figure out what the next kind of insert card was. Was it going to be a prism card? Was it a hologram? Was it this, that, or the other thing? And, there were a lot of things that were done, and sketch cards were one of the things that just really caught on. But it was kind of organic because it was one of several things that were tried. And it's like, that's the one that really caught on.
When was that again?
I'm amazed that the old Star Wars sets, I'm always amazed that the value of them doesn't seem to be that high.
Well, the original Star Wars really is high. I mean, if you had a box of the original Star Wars cards right now, you could get good money for it, like really good money, because they are hard to find. Some of the later series, the later original series might not be worth as much, but the first series packs and boxes and things like that have really started to go up. And what was your question, Ingrid?
When were the first sketch cards?
I don't know. You guys should know that more than me.
Well,
somebody that's written a book about them.
Well, it's because I've discovered that.
Yeah, I'm giving you crap.
It's not. No, it's not set in stone, and a lot.
No, it's definitely not. I think there's some controversy about.
Well, that's exactly
who created it first.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's.
So you're trying to get me to commit to.
Yes.
I'm not falling for it. No, I know there's definitely some controversy about what the first sketch card was and who made it. So I don't know, but it was, I guess, around that early 90s time or something like that.
You really don't want to commit, eh?
Well, I don't even know. I really don't know. But
I had heard it was like, I think, a Fleer set or something.
Right.
Probably baseball, I think, but I'm not sure now. I have to go back. And again, it seems to be contested here, there, and everywhere, and it depends on who you ask. And I don't know either. I was alive at that time, but I'd like to say I was young, but I didn't collect all that much at that time, so. I got
sketch cards have really come a long way. I mean, geez, look at some of those early ones, with just the line art drawings and things like that. And now some of the ones are just so intricate. And I mean, I can't draw anything, but so who am I to say anything? But some of the ones now are just such pieces of miniature art. It's amazing.
It's fun to see everyone's different spin on things, but of course that's a whole and we've been recording a lot of podcasts now. Well, relatively speaking, it's a good thing and a bad thing, because it takes time for people to do such colored cards and everything. And, we're not paid very much, of course, which is okay because, you do get something out of it. That's fine. But it makes the job really, really difficult to do. And and companies always want more from you, of course. So it can be
Right.
a little bit difficult. Lindsey is a newbie at all of this. She's only been in it for what, 2 years now?
2019 was my first Star Wars set.
3 years.
Okay.
Went from there. It's been going great. It's just getting better and better. But I love it. When I work on a big piece, it takes me a while to get the enthusiasm to keep working on it. But little tiny pieces where I can do 3 or 4 in a day.
Oh yeah.
Really enjoy it.
Cards are great for people with short attention spans like ourselves.
Yeah, well, and it's something, to get started on something and be done with it,
Yeah.
Whereas like one of your bigger pieces can take days and days, and like you just said, finding the enthusiasm to keep going is.
So you first got into sketch cards like with the Star Wars sets and all of that. Do you collect any sports cards at all?
My family has, a pretty decent sports card collection. I was never a sports card collector. One of the other ways I kind of got started was my brothers collected sports cards, and we would go to a lot of flea markets and things like that, which I guess you guys don't call them flea markets there in the UK. Oh,
we do.
making a special appearance. Oh, you do?
Yeah. Car boot and flea markets.
Right. So when we would buy some sports cards, like a small collection of sports cards, there would always be some non-sports in them. There would be like a few Addams Family cards or Beatles cards or something like that were just kind of shoved to the side. And at one point, my mother said, "Why don't you round up the non-sports and see what you can do with them?" And I was, I don't know how old, maybe 10 or something at that point. And that was another way that kind of got me interested in the non-sports.
What kind of cards would you like to see that haven't been released yet?
Ooh, that's a good question too. Wow. I don't know that you can come up with anything that hasn't been released, but I'd love to see more music cards. We don't really have many music cards right now. The hobby's kind of run hot and cold with that, but that's just personally, since I have an interest in music. And I think it's probably a hard set to produce because of all the licensing that's involved. I don't know.
Yeah,
Beyond that,
I don't know if it'd work differently with music and things like that.
what's that?
The licensing and everything. I don't know how many channels you have to go through to get, music, a license.
Yeah, I think you'd probably have to get all the management companies on board and all the bands, and it'd probably be if it was covering a lot of different bands or whatever, it would probably be a licensing nightmare. But maybe covering a single entity, it'd be easier. But we just don't really see too much of that anymore, and that's kind of a shame.
I would say comic book trading cards, from like Sandman, Preacher, that kind of thing. But I just don't think we were talking to Chris, wasn't we? Chris Mixon. He said the market's not quite big enough with those things to be able to, make a massive set.
Which nicely leads into my next question, Lindsey. It's almost like we practiced it. What do you think of the contrast between big publishing companies and small publishing companies when it comes to trading card sets and sketch card sets?
Well, that's a good question. It's great that they both exist. You're not going.
Somebody agrees with me.
You're just not going to get a smaller company able to produce the new television show. It's not going to be, it's not going to be possible for them to be able to afford the licensing fees like that for the latest. I'm trying to think of The Big Bang Theory or something like that. You're not going to be able to get a Perna Studios to produce that. They probably wouldn't even want to. But by the same token, their Topps is not interested in producing a small run set that is of interest to collectors. It's just not feasible for them. It wouldn't make enough money for them. It wouldn't be worth their time. So both are Both
So
are very necessary.
you do think that there is a fertile ground, a healthy way for big companies and small companies to coexist, and
Definitely.
maybe there's room for more even, do you think? Or could it
Yeah, I think there
overlook-
is room for more. I think right now I feel like we're kind of in transition. We need somebody to step up and produce some of the bigger sets. We don't seem to have as much of that right now.
What do you mean by that?
What's that?
What do you mean by that? Stepping up to
Well,
do some of the big-
Cryptozoic hasn't been doing as many licenses. They were really doing a lot of the big television shows and movies and things like that. They haven't been doing quite as many. I'd love to see them picking up some more licenses or somebody else. Tops is, maintaining their stable of Star Wars and things like that. But we need someone else to be doing some of these cool Netflix shows or things like that. And
there's so many new really cool
now,
shows
it's-
out there. It
yeah.
could be so much fun. As you say, I'm imagining the licensing could be like super complicated. And after working so many years for Tops and hearing about how hard it can be to work with a company, then you need also the movie or TV studio or whatever, and then sometimes all the individual actors.
Right.
It must be like, oh my God, it must be incredible.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. I don't have the patience for small things, so I cannot imagine having the patience to do that kind of a project. But that's why you need a company like Tops to make those kinds of sets. And like I said, by the same token, I don't see them making a mythology set or something like that.
No. So there is room for everyone, and all these creative people out there. Even if it's just a small thing, you can find your crowd, I think, eh?
Right, I agree.
You know, if you approached an actor and had photographs provided from them of them, not in their role or anything, but collectors might still be interested in that, because they wouldn't need license from anything. It's
just like you said, you're really your thinking hat on there. I mean, you would definitely not want them to be in their roles, because that would be problematic. But yeah, if you had shots of the actor, I think you could do that, especially if you had got the actor to do a couple of autograph cards or something like that. I hate to say it, but I think something like that would probably be necessary.
I think that might be a good route to go down. At least try something like that.
Right. I agree.
That's difficult.
I'm going to charge you a fortune now, then.
Well, yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on the actor and your relationship with them. If they're, if you happen to know someone, I guess you could do something like that.
Otherwise,
or maybe for a cause or something like that.
Yeah. Otherwise, it would be really hard to actually get through all the walls they have between the people, between the public and themselves.
Right.
But Lindsey is amazing at doing things. She might actually be able to do that.
Well, we'll be watching.
Yeah.
Give it a go. You can only try, can't you?
Yeah. Well, I think we've pretty much come to the end of this. This has been amazing. I can't wait to attend the show next week.
Yeah. Can't wait to see you.
Really hoping that this episode will be released in a few days, hopefully, if I can get it edited. I hope that people will take the time to go and visit your show and really support everybody who is there. I think you guys are going to be having a dinner also, so I don't know if people are invited to that, but I certainly intend to be there. So
yeah, actually, the dinner, I hope it's kind of indicative of the crowd. The dinner has sold out at this point. So
awesome.
We're really happy about that. But yeah, we are having the dinner, and I hope people will support the show too. Well,
that's great. Lindsey, do you have any questions that you haven't asked yet?
Sounds so much fun. I want to go. Oh, I hope you have an amazing time though, both of you.
Well, I'm going to try to.
You could come.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe next year we can arrange something.
That would be awesome.
Then I can afford a plane ticket. I'm there.
All right.
We'll try to figure something out to get you over here, and
all right.
We'll have a podcast thing in the show itself.
Yeah,
We'll do
a live
podcast.
session.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Where can people contact you? Where can they find more about the show online?
Well, you can find more about the show at our website, which is Philly non-sports card show. It's like the longest URL in history, but it's Philly non-sports with the dash in the middle card show. We're also on Facebook at Facebook. Just look up Philly Show. We're under Philly Show on Facebook.
I'll pop the links
And
in the
non-sport update is at, I'm sorry.
I'll pop all these links in the description.
Okay, yeah, non-sport update is at nonsportupdate.com, which also is kind of the same place for Facebook.
Okay,
And if you message any of those, you'll likely get me.
okay, great. That's fantastic. I've taken note of all of that. Thank you so much for having taken time out of your day to talk to us.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's been
It was fun.
interesting. And as I say, just such good luck for next week.
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you in 2023 at the show.
Yep, we're gonna work on that plan. We're gonna make it happen. Okay,
All right.
thank you
Bye.
so much, Harris.
All right.